Good afternoon, everyone. Gino here. I'm with my faithful companion, Sam.
Is that how we're referring to me now?
I don't know anymore. Sam Vukas, and we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes, give people a chance to log on here. So thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you shortly. All right, looks like we still got a handful more people logging in, so we're going to give them some time here.
You said like 50 people were coming to this thing.
We've got 50 people registered. They're just, you want to give people a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm. So they're like me, they're late to every meeting?
Yeah, but unlike you, they're valuable in these meetings. All right, looks like we got a good friend, Ron Morrison, on the call. Shout out to Ron. Ron, I expect some really hard questions from you after this. For those of you that don't know Ron is the owner of Pure Influencer, really good guy, good influencer himself in the automotive industry.
I see what you did there. Nice play on words.
Yeah. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I think people are still coming on, but we have a schedule to keep, right? It's important. So,
I got more to be.
All right. On today's webinar, we are going to cover the very important topic of what kills website conversion. And Sam, this is something you and I have talked a lot about over the years, right?
You're going to have to prevent me from rambling because there's a lot I want to say on this topic.
Good. Well, I think everyone here is going to get a lot out of that. So let's get this show on the road. For those who don't know us, my name is Gino, CSO here at Dealer eProcess. Been with the company for 6 years now, Sam. Time's flown. And then I have with me Sam Vukas, Director of Product Innovation.
Yep, and fourth year, I believe, for me so far.
Thanks. So, thanks everyone for being here. Shameless plug, for those of you that want to see us in person, Sam and I will be speaking on March 18th at the Driving Sales Conference. I'm sorry, not Driving Sales, that's in April. We'll be speaking there too.
Yes.
And that's Digital Dealer. No, we'll be speaking at the Internet Sales 20 group out in Nashville. This is a really great event. A lot of good kind of thought leaders in the industry are going to be there.
If you're wondering why Gino was just thrown off his game, we always love when Dave pops in for a brief moment to interrupt us during a presentation.
One of our owners, Dave Page, had to just interrupt me for a moment. That's okay. We always appreciate Dave coming in. So Sam, basically today, I think you and I, we need to have a talk, and I want everyone to listen to this. And what I think we have to talk about here is a topic that's kind of been floating around the industry forever, ever since the first website was created, and that's what hurts website conversion, what really destroys website conversion. I want to shed some light on a few different topics that I know that we've talked about before, that when it comes down to it, are things very easy to fix, they're things very easy to avoid that can help you get more out of the traffic coming to your website. So when it comes down to it, we've got kind of 4 key topics we want to hit on. Number 1, something that kills website conversion is having too many calls to action. And Sam, I know this is a rant that you've gone on. Don't start the rant.
I won't start the rant.
Yeah, but we want to talk about how many buttons on a site are too many, because you can overcrowd a website. I think too many dealers
and overwhelm.
Yes. I think too many sites, like dealers tend to be a little bit afraid of white space almost, like it's a bad thing.
Yes,
right?
the minute that they see a gap, it's like, what can we put there?
Right.
Because someone might look there.
Yeah. So we're going to cover that. We're going to talk about calls to actions that mimic each other. A lot of times when you start loading calls to action and lead forms on the site, over time, they all kind of blend into the same thing, and it tends to confuse the customer. I mean, they don't really know which to choose. They don't know what the outcome is going to be when they fill out one lead form versus the other, and it causes kind of a stall in their decision-making process, which causes you to lose a lead. So we'll hit on that. We're going to talk about third-party applications, what we call kind of self-promoting applications. There's some good ones out there, and there's some value to them, but a lot of times, when we see certain applications on dealer websites, it doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. The fact that these applications tend to be more about themselves than about helping out the customer. And a lot of times, too, it brings us to actually slowing down the website, which is one of the biggest things that actually kills conversion overall. Because if your site's not going to load, nobody can fill out a lead anyways, right, Sam?
Correct. But touching on the third bullet point, we'll get to more of it later. Everyone's guilty of doing this. It's something that happens in this industry, outside of other industries, but we're going to explain subtle ways to do it correctly and why it could be a negative impact on a consumer.
Right. Perfect. So let's dive in here. We're going to hit each of these bullet points individually. As we go through this, there's an area in the GoToWebinar widget for you guys to submit questions. So please feel free to write your questions in as we go along, and we'll handle those all at the end. So, Sam, bullet point number one, kind of the easiest one to call out because it happens a lot. Most dealer websites are just overcrowded with calls to action, and we've found numerous examples over time, but...
And if Dan O'Brien Key is on the phone, we're not picking on you in particular.
We're not picking on you, but we are picking on you.
We are.
Because what ended up happening on this website, in just the search results page alone...
One car, by the way, one car.
One car above the fold, no image of that car.
That happens to everybody.
Right. But there are now 12 calls to action on this SRP. Sam, so many?
Just a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So this really tends to cause kind of almost a deer in headlights situation, wouldn't you say? Because when I get to a page like this and I'm looking at a giant green button that says get your best price, I'm looking at another button number 3 there that says additional offers. I mean, those in my mind conflict a little bit. I have no less than 3 value trade
that was my favorite.
Calls to action
value trade.
And a link for questions to chat, a link to text, a link to get pre-approved, a link to send to my phone. It's too much. I don't know what action I need to take as a consumer because there's just too many options.
Correct.
Right? This is even worse when we get to mobile. Because on mobile, you have such less screen time or screen space to deal with, but you have the same amount of calls to action. So now this consumer who's just trying to learn about this car.
Do you see the car anymore?
No, I don't see the car, and I see very little information about the car, yet you're asking me to inquire about the car.
It almost looked like the value trade button was for the car below it even too.
Yeah. So what's happening here is you have a website that's...
Oh, 2 click-to-calls?
2 click-to-calls. Yeah, I did see that.
In case you missed it.
Yeah, you have a website here that actually is more interested in not answering the consumer's question, but having them fill out a lead form under really no kind of guidance at all, right?
No.
Kind of causes you to think and wonder, what the hell's going on here? What do I do? So this brings us to a point, and this is something that Sam, in all of his computer science classes at college, has, I know, learned about and brought into Dealer E, and that's Hick's Law. Sam, what is Hick's Law?
It is something in its most basic form that we follow when we try to come up with designs here. The law states that you decrease the chances of somebody interacting with somebody tenfold for every single time you have an extra choice. So if I'm sitting at a table and you put 3 choices in front of me and I need to weigh my options, I have to look at the 3. If you put 12 in front of me, there's a less likely chance that I'm going to do something with it because now I have to weigh all of them.
Right.
So as the lead count or the lead interactions go up, the chance of somebody converting is going to go down.
So would you say that when you do overload the SRP with all of these choices, you kind of are just sitting there confused, not knowing which direction to go?
Correct. And when you're looking and you've bought a car before and you've shopped and the forms are get ePrice and confirm availability and check this, check that, and every time you click them, it's the same looking thing and you getting no different interaction, why am I going to go down that road?
Right. So that's kind of the first call to action the first critical mistake that a lot of sites make is that too many calls to action causes an inability to make a decision on the consumer side, and so you don't get a lead.
Correct.
At the end of the day.
Correct.
Right? Flowing into kind of the next bullet point that we touched on, too many of these calls to action oftentimes do the same thing, right, Sam?
They're identical, yes.
Yeah, and
it's very harsh. It's give me your info.
Right.
I'm shopping for a car. I've seen the price. Maybe I'm interested in a payment, but it's like unless you're using some form of third-party tool, which we'll get to in a bit, the standard forms that are on a site are all identical.
Right.
We've got an email a friend here. What does it say? Friends, email, friends, first name. Okay, this one might be a little bit different, your name. The next one we've got coming up here, request information, first name, last name, email, phone. Next one is confirm availability, first name, last name, email, phone. You see a pattern that's happening here where no matter what the person wants to do, and let's not kid ourselves, the BDC is not necessarily going to handle this any different. They're picking the phone up and they're calling regardless of what the title of the call to action is, which we have to stop resting on customers just expecting a different experience because the form title is different. This is the same stuff we're looking at here.
Yeah. Not only that, but the form title or the button color or the button shape, all of that changing just to get to the same form?
Yes.
Unnecessary.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah.
We're merchandising vehicles, yet we're the only industry that feeds off of leads like zombies and tries to hit them at every angle. Oh, I think if we name it this, they'll, at the end of the day, they want to buy a car. They know how to get in contact with you.
Yeah. I would also say, too, that on the vendor side, this is just laziness.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Agreed.
So if we do have a Get ePrice button, don't make it the same as confirm availability. Make it do something that's in line with Get ePrice, right?
Correct.
So make it start a conversation along that pathway with the consumer rather than starting the same conversation over and over again.
We don't have a slide for this, but that brings up a great point. When we look as a company at the starts and completes of certain forms, and we track this through Google Analytics, it's very alarming to see that people actually will click these call to actions, but then do nothing with it. So then that begs the question, what are we not providing them when we click that button? And you can see this across every single call to action. Somebody thinks that checking the, confirm availability is going to verify on the spot to them if that car is there. Well, if they keep seeing first name, last name, email, phone, and everything that they click, if they're get ePrice confirmed, they're not going to interact with it because we're not providing them feedback.
And I want to pause here because we just got a really, really good question. So the question is, and I know we've talked about this specifically, the question is, how about banners above inventory pages? The asker of the question here noted dealer.com is a pretty big offender. What do you say to that? I know how I would answer, but why don't you go ahead?
There's a right way and a wrong way.
Okay.
If you are going to do banners on a search page above inventory, make sure that that banner is relevant. Make sure it's smart and it can read in what the inventory of the consumer is looking at. So for example, if I'm on a Chevy website and I'm looking at Colorados and Sierras, I don't need to see a Tahoe banner. If you want to load a carousel of like 8 different banners, so if I have a mix of inventory that's up there, that's fine. I completely understand why you might want to do that, especially to kind of showcase if it's 0% or if it's money off, whatever it might be. But if I'm drilling down and I've now gotten down to 3 or 2 or 1 model, that's the only ad I should be seeing on that page.
So basically, so long as the banner, for lack of a better term, has a brain and knows what the customer wants.
Correct.
Don't show it.
Correct.
Right? And I think that makes a lot of sense. I think we too often get caught up in kind of the notion that if we put some offer in front of the consumer, it's going to cause some engagement. But I think that's a little bit short-sighted thinking.
The thinking of the more ways we can get in front of them, listen, they're already on your website. They're intended on shopping your cars. They want to know what you have in stock and if the price is right. If we keep going with this notion that the more white space we fill up, the more, oh, well, if this person shops like this, yada, yada, that's not how people shop. It's not.
Right. I think you can look outside the industry too, and you'll find a lot of the major sites out there are extremely clean, and they've learned that lesson over and over again. So going back to this page right here, having all of these different lead forms just to flow into our fun little GIF that we threw in here.
You went GIF crazy on this one, didn't you?
I went a little bit crazy on this one.
Proud of the GIF.
I like it. It just entertains me, which is all I'm trying to do. It just causes mass confusion amongst the consumer, like what lead form is actually.
What's the expectation?
Right. What are we looking for here? Which then goes into those self-marketed applications. Yeah. And here's another rant of yours that I want to hear a little bit of. But these third-party applications that essentially do the same thing as your native, let's say, get ePrice button.
And not picking on Fat Winter Perk, I'm just using an example.
Right. But I mean, bringing all of this into the fold, Sam, what's your take on this? Why is this such a terrible thing that kills website conversion?
There's two reasons. One, with the current state of affairs of people's personal information being sold and bought and traded and all this stuff that happens behind closed doors and all these deals that these companies have, consumers, let's put it this way, if you were shopping on Amazon and there was something that Amazon wanted you to do, but now all of a sudden you saw a logo that wasn't Amazon, but you're still trying to buy something from Amazon, would you not be concerned that your information is going somewhere else, or why this is not powered by Amazon if you are on their website? So really, as dealers, the tools that you have are representative of your company, and you need to make it feel as though when a consumer gets to your site, that they feel that they're having a safe shopping experience. I mean, if we want to provide them what they want, we're giving them name, address, email, phone number. Like, you're giving personal information. It needs to feel like it's safe.
Right.
And really, the only reason that these things exist like this is for dealers to dealers. When I go to I'm dealer A and I go to dealer B's website and I go, why is he, kicking my ass? I need to see what he's got. Oh, he's got this trade tool. Well, who is that? It's a shameless self-plug, but it needs to be done in a very minimal way. And here's a couple examples, like on the left, the how big is your household one. Very small in the corner, not crazy. But some of these other ones where it's powered by car chat, trade penny, people don't know what these are.
Or this guy right here.
This was actually my favorite. This I found, I believe this was on the VDP. I clicked it. If you notice, it doesn't match the website, first off. It's orange. It has no discernible way to close it. I tried clicking off the screen. I tried doing a million different things. And here's where I get concerned at the bottom. I do read things, so do other people. Official rules. Official rules of what?
Yeah.
Is this a sweepstakes?
Yeah.
What am I entering into here? Like, what's going on?
Do I have to enter a raffle to get this?
Yeah, what's happening here?
Yeah.
So this is just something to be aware of, to see if, when you're using other vendors on your websites, to see if they have alternative views of things, and to make it a little less apparent. Because you're trying to make money, you're trying to sell cars, you're not trying to make money for a trade pending, you're not trying to make money for a car chat 24.
Right.
That's not why you're here.
I think it's important too, the consistency in branding, like you mentioned. I think the Amazon example is good, because I know when I'm shopping on Amazon, if I see a vendor that's not Prime eligible,
I'm not buying.
I wouldn't be buying them.
Yeah.
I don't know who they are.
14 other available from these places that are not from the company I'm buying from.
Right.
I'm not buying.
Yeah. So, and I think that's just how we've trained consumers these days. And so it's important to keep that in mind with these third parties. They might get you, some extra looks, but they're certainly not going to be really confident in consumers' eyes that they're actually part of what the process is.
You dig deep for that confident word, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I had a little bit of a stall in my mind there. It happens to the best of us. But what it also does too, and this is what these third parties are really, really known for in a negative way, is dragging down your site load time. So
That is a fact.
how important is site load time?
Very much so, for a number of reasons. One, that's how we all gauge the performance of a website. Two, if people have a terrible Wi-Fi connection, or they're driving down the road, which you shouldn't be shopping while driving, but let's say you're in the passenger seat.
We do it anyway.
And you're bouncing between, servers, and you might have a bad load time. You're not gonna go to the site. You're not gonna sit there and wait. Nobody sits there on their phone and waits 45 seconds for something to come up. And when you have to go out to all these different third parties and hit their API and populate their chat and do all these different things, it's only adding to that time.
Right. So the good news here, Sam, is that you can test this, right? So a number of ways to test how these applications are slowing down your site.
Yes.
So let's look at that. Now, we've got another site here. Fewer calls to action than the last site we looked at, but still quite a lot, right?
Yeah.
As I'm clicking here, I see
they're a little more subtle. They're a little more subtle, but they got a lot hanging on the sides here, and it's going to go over, blocking the view. On mobile, this has got to be atrocious, because it's going to be blocking pricing and everything else.
But here's what bugs me. It says saved vehicles over here. What's your car worth here? What's your car worth here?
A little much.
Compare, Facebook, see more. I mean, stop double dipping on wording. I mean, is I think
Well,
the first thing.
I think this dealer is concerned if someone's looking on the left side of the screen versus the right side of the screen, they want to be there.
Well, yeah, but either way, I'd say this is a little bit uninspired of a SRP, would you say?
Nice pun.
Yes, thank you. So, we have scheduled service up there too, on the SRP. So let's test this. Let's see if our theory that these third-party plugins really do slow down the site. So there's a great tool.
Well, the WordPress sites use that. What's that Rocketfish thing or whatever that Dealer Inspire uses to speed their stuff up? They should be good.
Yeah. So we did the test. That same page you were just looking at, the SRP. Let's see how quickly Google gauges that it will load on a dealer's site. And no surprise. Okay, let's be honest. You plug that many things into a website, any website, I don't care whose platform it is, it's going to slow it down, right?
That's true.
So this dealer got a 21 score out of 100 on their site speed. And here's the most disturbing part. The time to first interaction is 15.4 seconds. So in the idea that you add these plugins, Sam, on your site to get more conversions, how much more do you think you're losing in conversions by making people wait 15 seconds for this page to load?
Probably a decent amount, because people will bounce, people will leave, especially if you're doing marketing campaigns that drive them to an SRP where you have extra data to load, or if you're going to a VDP or other places where native content on your site already lives. That could really draw this down. And I'd like to take out 1 second to point out the Google Page Speed Insights is not the holy grail of speed tests. Google themselves have 3 different tools that all rate differently, and it's quite a state of affairs currently for website speed testing. But we do like to follow what they recommend.
Right, and it's a good barometer.
It is,
right?
It is.
So to give you kind of just an idea of the customer's kind of mindset when they see a 15-second load time, I know this is how I feel when it takes my website that long to load, right? So that's clearly not the case. So in that case, the third-party plugins just are not helping you. They're actually doing more harm than good. Here's an example of something that's a little bit speedier. Now, this is a much cleaner site. There's still plenty of call to action there to give consumers options, which we know people want, but not so many that it causes confusion or a delay in decisions and you lose that customer. So in the same test, we'll run this page through the Page Speed Insights, and it's a much higher score and a much quicker time to first interaction. Could it be faster? Of course. I think there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
I know, Sam, you and the dev team in the back are always working on how to make our sites faster, but I think you're still going to get a lot more from your consumers if they only wait 3.9 seconds versus 15.4 to get to the content they're looking for, right?
Correct. And if we do have a higher load time, we just blame Tim. That's what we do.
Yeah. Tim's our guy in charge of site speed, for those of you who don't know. So if any of our dealers are on this call and think their site's slow, we'll give you Tim's number.
We will send you his email, personal cell, and desk phone.
And his address.
That's a bit far.
No, I think I'm going to do it. But what's funny about site speed, and you mentioned Google, and I think this is fun too. We tested another site outside of automotive just to see how site speed
is it Amazon?
Up against
it's Amazon.
Automotive. It's not Amazon. Funny enough, this site scored a 29. Its time to first interaction was 5.7 seconds, which is still fairly slow in the world of the internet.
First colorful paint was 2.1. Not bad.
So what do you think, Sam? You said Amazon.
I said Amazon.
No. This was actually
Nike? Oh, I was going to say Nike. Dave's always on Nike.
No. So I think it's a good benchmark to show that at least the site we just showed is beating the pants off of YouTube. But we just have to make sure that we focus on site speed a lot, right?
How did we get a YouTube video as a recommended?
Somebody's logged in as us listening to
Lo-fi hip-hop radio, chill study beats.
Either way.
Listening now. Who is logged in listening to that?
I don't know. I think the overarching message here, Sam, and you might agree with this, less is more.
Less is more.
Right?
Yes.
So
people know how to shop. People are buying things online all day. People know how to go on VRBO and book a beach house. People get it. They know what they're doing.
Right. I think if you look at some of the top rated apps out there, you look at, I think Instagram is a great example. It's extremely simple. You probably have 3 CTAs on any image, like, share, save.
I think, yeah,
you
might be right.
Right?
For the first time today.
Yeah, so thank you. So keeping it clean, keeping it easy is really going to help boost your load time, which is going to boost your conversion. It's going to cause your consumers to not be confused. This slide right here kind of sums it up. For any of you on the call that want to have this presentation sent to you, we will send it. You'll have all of this right here. But I always want to leave these calls with a, what can we do next? How can we fix it, right? And the good thing here is that it's fairly simple. We just got to clean it up. Right, Sam?
We've been making a lot of Mrs. Doubtfire references, so this makes sense.
Right. So you just have to clean up the site. It'll make it run smoother, okay? So reduce the calls to action.
Make them relevant.
Make them relevant, make them different from one another, and make them make sense to the consumer. Don't be afraid of white space. Let me remove this here. This is not a bad thing. If you have a blank white area, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to throw a flashing button in there that's not really going to be the best course of action or the best practice. It's just going to probably cause more harm than good. So don't be afraid of having a little white space on your page. And when you think about mobile, which we should have thrown a mobile view on here, that's my fault.
Way to go.
That white space disappears quite a bit.
It does. And the other thing too is there's always, we have to remember there are reasons white space does exist. For example, if this was a Toyota site, that's where you're getting your Toyota Care and your Toyota Sense and those different things that are there. So it's like, you can't just start stuffing things in on a website because you think someone's going to look there. Listen, they're shopping. They will find what is relevant to them. If they're looking for payments, we have them. If they're looking for a call to action to get a price difference, it's there. Everything on this page has been monitored, tracked, and it makes sense why it's in the position it's in.
Yeah, and everything that's not there is not there for a reason.
Correct.
And the last thing is, let's limit those third-party applications. I think the one we pointed out that I think is still okay to get away with is the chats. I mean, the chat applications will still do their job. It doesn't matter if the logo's down there, but the fat wins of the world, again, not to pick on them, but I mean, they're just a fancier e-price button, right?
I pick on them only because they're taking away the native application of what the form is on the site, but they built their business around the idea of this presentation. What are we not providing the consumer? What are we not giving them when they click the button? And they came up with a way to fix that. But the problem is, again, you're now changing out how the site natively works, and now you have forms that go off to something different that don't match the site, and it's getting old.
But when you do this, you have a pretty good time as a consumer, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
If I can get to the car I'm looking for and I can find what relevant call to action works for me, and I can either get my payment or I can value my trade-in or get pre-approved, without having to comb through all these little hanging things over the sides and close the chat 500 times as I'm shopping, I'm happy.
Cool. So thanks everyone for listening in. We left a little bit of time here for questions, so feel free. We got a couple right here. Here's one. Does it make sense to put a few CTAs below the fold or towards the bottom of the page? That is a great question, Sam. What do you think?
It would depend on the page. If we're talking the SRP, the VDP, depending where I'd have to know exactly where they're looking to do it below the fold. But here's the thing about the above the fold content as a general statement. Everyone tries to put as much as they can above that fold, but I challenge everyone to pay attention when they're shopping or they go to a website, whether it's mobile or desktop. Tell me that you don't scroll.
Yeah.
I don't care if I've been to the website before. When I get to the site, I'm going to scroll. The only exception to that might be Amazon, because I don't care what they're putting on the homepage, because when I go there, I'm looking for the search bar because I know what I'm buying.
Right.
But the same can be said for automotive too. If you've worked your way through tier 1, tier 2, and now you're on tier 3, and I'm on a Mazda site, I know I'm going with a CX-9. I don't need to scroll further down. I'm looking what you got in inventory.
So I think that in my mind, in looking at that question, here's what it made me think of. I think below the fold calls to action really make a lot of sense on a page like this that I would consider a research page.
Oh, absolutely.
So on this page right here, we're learning about the Mazda CX-9. Right now we're displaying an offer, which if that's all the customer's looking for.
That's a weird month offer, 63 months.
I know. Well, you better check your data feed coming in there. But after that, now I'm learning about the vehicle, learning about performance, its comfort. I'm finding out whether or not this car is for me. Once I've gotten down,
because you've gotten to this page expecting to read something.
Exactly. I'm just learning about the vehicle. In fact, I probably got here organically because that's what these pages are really designed to do. Now that I'm down here, we actually take the extra step of putting the vehicles on here. So here's where your calls to action really are, and this is where they make the most sense. I've learned about this car. If I truly do like it based on what I've read, maybe I'll figure out what my payment will be or what the e-price should be, right? So I think there are certain instances where below the fold CTAs are fine. I think, like you said, it's a good point. I think we get too overwhelmed with above the fold, because inherently people, especially on mobile, that thumb is always moving up and down.
That's why Facebook scrolls the way it does. It's why Instagram, I'm glad you brought this up. They pushed out that horizontal scroll update and people flipped out. They flipped out. The native thing to do on when you're holding the phone is scroll. Like that, it happens.
So to answer the question, there are instances where below the fold CTAs do make sense and they work out very well on these types of pages.
Any other questions?
I don't think we have any other questions, and maybe we're just that good.
I don't think that's the case.
I'd like to believe it. All right, everyone. Well, thanks again for watching. Keep an eye out. We always have more webinars focusing on all different topics we've done so far. Digital retailing. We'll probably want to revisit that one. Digital marketing, to-dos, not to-dos.
Definitely revisit digital retailing. It's something that we need to make sure as an industry we don't mess up. Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure that everyone has a proper plan for their dealership for how it's going to, mesh in store versus what online is.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, these digital retailing leads are not going to do any good if your in-store process isn't designed to handle them.
And if we teach everybody to not find their payment online early in the process because it's too broken, then in 2 years we'll be sunsetting everyone's digital retailing products because they won't work.
And that's not what we want.
No.
So, again, thanks everyone for joining. Keep an eye out for the next webinar. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Always a pleasure.
I wish I could say the same.
Thank you.